Alright guys, we're going to take a little break from the serious stuff and we are going to come back to something that I talked about last year, something like that. And I told you in earlier videos here that I had come to the conclusion, after all my life, I had come to the conclusion that anything to do with UFOs, flying saucers, that sort of thing, was, aliens, right? Aliens are demonic. And I came to that conclusion. I had read a lot of different books when I was younger, because enigmas like that have always intrigued me. So I read quite a number of books, which did nothing. Those books did nothing to make me come to this decision. They did nothing to make me come to this decision, because all of those books were scientifically driven from the standpoint that these have to be visitors from another world and so on, right? Anyway, I'll tell you, when I was a boy, I read a book. It was in my school library. There was 2 books in my school library, and this book was one of them. And I read them both, and I forgot about the contents. I just knew that they were UFO books, right? Well, this book, okay, so this book is not included with all of those other books that I read as a young man, okay? This book I read as a boy. This is called Flying Saucers and the Three Men by Albert K. Bender. And it says up here at the top, it says, a UFO investigator's terrifying experiences with visitors from outer space. That's the book. Okay. Now, I originally thought it was 3 books that had made me come to this conclusion that aliens are demons, but not really. It's 2 books. It's this book and Whitley Strieber's book, Communion. Okay? But I did not make the connection until I bought this book again recently, a year or 2 ago, because I hadn't read it since I was a boy. I couldn't remember what was in it. I just knew I had read it. Okay? But when I reread this book, between this book and Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, I made the connection. People have probably poo-pooed this guy for decades. I think this was like 1960s is when this came out, right? It was in the library, the school library, when I was a kid. And anyway, this book talks about the outer darkness and whole kinds of stuff that really, it sounds, it talks about things that is a preternatural type thing, which is the opposite of supernatural. The supernatural comes of God, and preternatural comes from the demonic realm. Okay? Now, Bender asked these creatures about Jesus, and they tried to play down Jesus like he's nothing, right? That should be a big thing right there. It says that not good. Okay, and then the smells, that the Bender smelled when they were coming or going, like sulfur and other smells. I mean, yeah. So that's all associated with the demonic, and then they talked about the outer darkness and all that, and all of that stuff is demonic. Now, and when we think of demonic entities, demons, right? Think about movies like The Exorcist, right? Demonic possession and so forth. And what happens when somebody's possessed by a demon is that the demon enters the body, right? The body is a machine for them. It's like a marionette. Okay, so we read about Bender's experience here, and all these demonic things all these things that he's experiencing. This is all demonic stuff. And then you go back to Whitley Strieber, who is, I don't think he's a Christian now. He might be, who knows. But the thing is that he said, I was taken aboard this craft, and this being, one of these grays, took him to this area of the ship. They had these drawers with bodies in them that were just bodies. They were biological life forms, but there was no life to them, nothing going on up here. They were just life forms that had been created by them. And so this being told Strieber, this is in the book Communion, you can go read it. This being told Strieber, he says, when this body that I'm in right now gets ready to expire because it's too old and it is breaking down, he says, I transfer myself into another body that's already ready. What does that tell you? It is possessing a body, a biological body that, it can inhabit and live in and walk around in and so on. You see? So these are demonic entities. The ships are just props, like a prop for a movie, right? The ships, I mean, they have intelligence. Demons have intelligence far beyond humans. So yeah, they could make these ships. They know how to make them. They know their knowledge is incredibly advanced. And so they can make these saucers and other things, and they know how to do it, and make themselves look like these advanced creatures from another place and what have you. But the reality is they're just demons trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes, and even on the back of this book it says, are the UFO landings by friend or foe? It says on the back of this book. But if you read this book, Flying Saucers and the Three Men by Albert K. Bender, and the book Communion by Whitley Strieber, you will know exactly what I am talking about. You will make that connection, I guarantee you. If you have studied on any of this stuff for any length of time yourself, you will make that connection. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is about 2-3 years ago, I saw that werewolf. I'm bringing it up again. That's right, I am, because I saw it with my own eyes. I'm not a crazy person. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not somebody who uses drugs or any of that sort of thing. I saw this thing. I never thought I would. I always thought this is just a work of fiction for books and movies, right? So I never did erase this. That's what I saw. You could see this wolf head, but the head was huge. The head was probably that big. This thing was over 7 feet tall, and it had fangs. It had wolf ears. It had shaggy fur and shaggy mane on the shoulders, and it was more sleek in its fur on its body, but it ran like a silverback gorilla. It had arms, longer arms than human arms, and it used them to help itself run. It was like a loping run, and I didn't really get any. That's the kind of reason why the hands and the feet I don't really have anything to say about them, because I was just instantly drawn to the head. For the most part, the head. I mean, you cannot mistake that head, man. I mean, that was a werewolf. I mean, I always joke about Bigfoot and stuff. For years I've joked about Bigfoot and everything, but and I always, believe it or not, I always thought Bigfoot was a plausibility, and I've always, and what I believe now is that Bigfoot is an interdimensional being that can move between dimensions. It's like here's the line where our dimension is, and there's another dimension. And another thing is that demons are interdimensional. They can appear to people. Demons can appear to people if they want to. If they so choose, they can. But our eyes can only see on a certain spectrum, right? And either they're in another dimension, or they're in just in a spectrum that we cannot see. Okay. Now you can laugh at this if you want, but there's a portion, there is a part in the Bible. I think I can't remember what scriptures it is, but Jesus is there with the Pharisees, and they're getting ready to stone him. He says, before Abraham was, I am. Right? So he's telling them, I'm God. Right? And they got ready to stone him, and it says, Jesus hid himself and went out from among them. Well, how do you hide yourself in the middle of a group of men that are going to stone you? You shift. You do the Houdini, right? You become invisible and you just walk out of there. So, yeah. So is Bigfoot real? I think there's a very good possibility of it. I'm pretty doggone sure that Bigfoot is real nowadays, and I'm pretty sure how to see him too. Okay? I'm not talking about physically seeing him, but I'm talking about how to see him with an instrument. Right? Pretty sure. So I saw this video. I only got a couple minutes here. So I saw this video a few days ago. Man, this guy saw Bigfoot in the same area that I live, pretty much. In the same geographical area. Well, anyway, this guy saw Bigfoot. I'd only heard there was like one Bigfoot sighting around here, maybe in the 60s. But this guy saw the Bigfoot in like maybe the 70s or the 80s, probably, in my geographical area. And he was saying, well, he says Bigfoot, and he apparently this had something to do with werewolves and Bigfoot both. And oh yeah, they respect each other's area or something like that. I don't know. Could be Bigfoot around here too. Hard to say. But anyway, go read Communion by Whitley Strieber, and then get you a copy of this book. It's pretty cheap. Flying Saucers and the Three Men by Albert K. Bender. And some of this stuff you'll have to like just force yourself to read through, because if you're a Christian, because it's some of it is not very Christian, but you're gonna see what I'm talking about. Guys, drop me an email anytime. Catch you later.